Hi, I'm Mike Smith. I'm the Senior Vice President of Talent Management at the National Football League, and I'm responsible for really all of our strategic human capital management and all levers associated. I'm an old finance person by trade, so I spent the first 20 years of my life as a finance professional before transitioning to human resources about a year ago. And from my finance standpoint, what I like to do is really take a very complex area and break it down into little parts. So for me, when I think about talent management, what I like to do is break it down into different processes within the talent management strategy. So for me, the first process is around how do we really attract and onboard the best professionals that we think are going to be culture fits for our organization. Secondly, then I think about how do we motivate them? How do we actually unlock their passions so that they're really giving maximum effort every day? Thirdly, I think about how do we assess them? So what are we doing to really solicit input about them, but also seeking their input about the organization? Then I think about how do we develop them? How do we actually make sure that they're the best professional they can be, certainly with a focus on our leaders and our high potentials. Then what are we doing to reward them? So thinking about both financial and non-financial rewards in terms of how to really recognize that performance. And then lastly, I think about how do we retain our best and exit people that we think are better served for another part of the organization or for another place to work. And so really, how do we think about really maintaining a balance between institutional perspective and then constantly bringing in fresh new ideas to the organization? Really, you can have the best strategy or the best product, but at the end of the day, it's going to come down to the people that really are the most critical in terms of conceiving a strategy, executing the strategy, coming up with the next new innovative product, delivering on a customer's expectations. Unless you have the people part of the equation right, ultimately your product or your strategy is not going to work out. So for me, an opportunity to work in the talent management space is really an opportunity to really get at the heart of what's going to ultimately drive an organization's success. It's with its people. How do I measure ROI? How do I measure about the impact of everything that we're working on? And I think from my standpoint, I really think about it in two ways. One, there clearly is going to be a financial benefit that comes from getting human capital management right. So there's a lot of research that's been done by a whole lot of different organizations, some of the big brand name consulting firms and other polling organizations out there that really do tell us that if you get talent management right, the best performing companies in that realm really are getting revenue growth of 3 to 4 times more than companies that are lower performing in that realm, profit margin growth that's at least 2 times better than companies that aren't as served, and companies that really make focuses in their organizations around development and rewards really are twice as likely to be higher performing organizations. Now, the other thing I think about though is qualitative benefits. And so when you're going to make something like this a priority around human capital management, then really you're going to have incremental metrics that you have for every step of your process in terms of how many employees you're touching, what do your engagement scores look like, and the like. So I think there's ways that you can measure both the financial and also more qualitative benefits of human capital management. Now, when I think about financial rewards, the NFL, I think, I'm not sure we're unique, but we do put an emphasis on our pay for performance philosophy. And I think it probably stems from us being associated with the game of football and really the importance that really performing on the field has in terms of how you're recognized in terms of within your club. That really does translate in terms of how we think about our financial rewards. And we do have a fair amount of differentiation, really making sure that our financial rewards go to our best and highest performers. And we do think that really does promote our high performance culture for ourselves. But I think there's another piece of sort of financial and non-financial that I also think about, which is also as it relates to employee engagement. And when I think about financial rewards, that's something where I think really what you're trying to do is just make sure that you're making an employee feel like they're fairly compensated. So it's not so much really accentuating a positive, but what you're trying to do is really avoid a negative where an employee feels like they're not being appropriately recognized there for their contributions. But I do think there's a much bigger opportunity as it relates to non-financial rewards. And that's really where, in my mind, you can really accentuate a positive around employee feeling like they really are having fun at their job. There's an emotional connection with their job. There's pride in the place they work. And really, most companies, and the NFL not excluded in that, really can become very creative in terms of how they think about non-financial rewards. I think we're certainly in a great position where we've got some great things we can do around special recognitions using the commissioner or special recognitions that really are tied to the game of football. And I think, and for us at least, it really does help instill a feeling of pride in something that really does drive engagement. You know, when I think about diversity and inclusion and why it's important, in some ways I still laugh that sort of that's still a question about why is it important. You know, if again I bring it back to a football analogy, analogy, you never put together a football team with players just from one college conference or just from one state. You would want your talent pool to be as broad and as deep as possible in order to make sure you're getting the best talent. And really, that is no different than how we think of our talent for the people that work at the league office. You want as many people with as best brains as possible candidates or employees for you to draw from. And really, for us, it really starts with that mindset. And it also goes a bit further that it's not really about just the traditional forms of diversity around race or gender. It's also around backgrounds, experiences, how you think, those types of things. Really trying to create a diverse workforce in every way that you can possibly think of. And I think our managers are actually pretty well versed at this point that hiring a team of people that are not like yourself really is going to give you your best team and your best chance of success. Well, for me, one of the big initiatives for this year is the league in last December reissued and reaffirmed what our mission and values were for the NFL. And for us, there's a real opportunity to really make sure employees are really engaged around the values as we have redefined them around integrity, respect, responsibility to team, and resiliency. And for us, it's a way to think about how do we incorporate those values in all the different steps of the talent process, everywhere from how we attract and onboard employees, how we develop them, how we assess them, and ultimately how we reward and retain our best and brightest, and in terms of also those that we think really are living the values. And for us, there's a new emphasis on really not just what you do at the NFL, but really how you do it. And are you doing things and achieving your results the right way as we have come to know them, again, in accordance with our values. And for us, a huge opportunity to make sure that everyone in the organization knows what we mean when we say that, really knows what they can do to actually live the values in their day job, and really to also identify areas where we may be falling down, and for us to really coach up other employees to maybe think about things a little bit differently.